It's a beautiful Sunday morning in the Comox Valley. We are all sat in Locals Restaurant ready for a podcast that is going to be full of love. My name is William Stringer.
I'm Darren Howlett.
And I'm Chef Jonathan Frazier.
And this is the Edible Valley Podcast.
Do you ever wonder where your food comes from? That's what got us started on this adventure.
In each episode, we ask experts to weigh in on the food topics that matter to you, from growers to producers to chefs.
And I challenge John, Darren and you to learn more about your food and the stories behind it. From our hub on Vancouver Island in the beautiful Comox Valley, join us as we explore our Edible Valley.
Well, good morning. I'm really looking forward to this one. As I said, it's going to be absolutely full of love, jam-packed full of love. Just to introduce ourselves quickly, because there's a few of us round this table this morning. My name is William Stringer.
And I'm Chef Jonathan Frazier.
And I'm Darren Howlett.
And then I've got Lesley.
Yes, we have
Chefs
Lesley
Association.
again. This is awesome.
Yes.
Lesley, now you've got some introductions now.
I do. And I want to introduce one of our educators in the Comox Valley. She is a foods teacher extraordinaire at Isfield, Tammy Williamson. And I actually want to make a very special announcement about Tammy. A few weeks ago, the Culinary Federation held their Western Conference in Victoria, and I put forward Tammy's name for an award, and she will be representing all the Western branches as Member of the Year.
Wow. We've
Yes.
got,
Like
this is amazing. Are we, Tammy, are you tearing up?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a tough Sunday morning. So what this means is that we have three basic categories. We have a chef member of the year. We have a young chef member of the year. We also have a member of the year, because we recognize that we can't operate with just chefs and cooks and students and that sort of thing. We need other people, the same way as the industry does. The back of house can't survive without the front of the house.
Yeah,
And
sure.
further to that, we need also educators, and that's what Tammy is all about. And some of the reasons why I put forward her name for this honor, and she did receive it, so she will be moving forward to represent the West at the national conference in Niagara in June. We'll be putting her name forward.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That is a
And-
lot of coming already.
That's awesome.
You
How
were right.
do you
This is all
feel?
full of love. This is Lesley always comes to me with so many surprises, and yes, she makes me cry often. So. and good, happy tears, not stressful tears.
Oh, you
That's
wait.
awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. It is a really major honor. I was really pleased to put Tammy's name forward, because she does so much for our branch and also for young educators. She's been working a Culinary Club, so this is an after-school program. So this is above and beyond what you do normally in your normal classroom. And how long has it been running?
6 years at this school. I've done it at other schools as well, not just Isfeld.
And what does it look like? How do you do it?
Well, we run every week, but the first week we do a planning day. So the idea behind it is that students would come to me with their ideas and make it really student focused, not me saying we're going to make this, we're going to do that. So they come to me and say, oh, we want to make this. And then the following week we cook, usually from 3:30 till, I always say 5, but it's more like 6:30 by the time we get into there.
Kitchen time.
Yeah. And so we do baking, we do culinary, we have chefs that come in and do demonstrations on those weeks. So we do sort of, this year we've been doing a lot of international cooking based. We have lots of students, international students, so they've been coming to us with recipes and we've been making those. So that's been really fun.
That must make it a bit more interesting as well. Like
Yeah.
having all these new kind of influences from around the world.
Yes, and they get to come and tell us how to do it the proper way. And they stand up and do a demonstration and they give me the ingredients list and then we go ahead. Yeah, it's been really good. This year's been really fun.
How many
they're all
students
fun.
do you have?
Well, I started saying 12. That's my limit. This is extracurricular. I don't want to do this till 6:30, twice a month. But we usually do a tryout. So we have students come in and do a little bake-off. And it's something simple like scones because, sorry, I moved. We do something like scones. And then we kind of evaluate them and then we choose a few. But I could not cut a single student this year. So we have about 28 to 30.
Oh my goodness.
More than double.
Yes, but they don't all come on the. Sometimes they're busy with rugby
Right.
or whatever it is, and so I don't have a full house that often.
All right.
Yeah.
But sometimes they do.
Wow. That's great. And honestly, it's probably quite a team building thing. I imagine people make friendships that last a lifetime through cooking.
Absolutely. And we do, because we do so much volunteering in the Valley with Lesley and other organizations and stuff for the district, they get to work together so much and they do a lot of great team building. And so I had students come back this year at Christmas time, a big group of them, and they came together and they said, oh, we miss Culinary Club so much. And they just love it. They just really bonded. And we've done a few trips together at the end of the year. We've done with Gaetan and is it Island Gourmet Trails?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have done a few things with her.
Oh, nice.
And so the students get together and bond with Gaetan, who's so great with kids, and do stuff around the Valley.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So the when you talk about your outreach with in the community, none of this is funded by the school district. I know there was an apron that they have, which was very exciting. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. So one year, I had a principal that gave us $300 to run the program, which was great. And then we do some fundraising, lots of fundraising. And this year, I asked PAC, so that's the parent group for the school, and they gave us $1,000 for
Nice.
PAC. So I just have to write up a little letter of what we do, what we need the money for, and so that was really, really great. And then the aprons, Lesley was talking about, my last vice principal decided we needed proper aprons, so he went ahead and just had them all made with our logo, and they have pockets, and they have adjusting straps, and so the kids were really pumped about that. And it was very nice of him to do that.
That gives everyone a sense of pride and
Belonging.
belonging. It's really important.
Yeah. It's also easy then when we're doing events for us to point them out and to show them and that. So, and to be actually able to feature them.
So you're saying, excuse me, but you're saying that in events, these they're invited along?
Yes.
Oh,
now,
nice.
so we've done, whenever we have to do an event, and almost anything that somebody who is underage can attend, has come out and volunteered. They've come out and volunteered with the Junior Culinary Team Canada. In fact, her team basically ran and expedited the entire event for 90 people. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I worked at the floor, and we had Team BC, our Team Canada people working in the kitchen, but they were basically the ones coordinating the rest.
Wow.
They've come out to events of ours during, just to help support. They've also done multiple food fests. Every food fest we've done for the last, 3 years, I'd say, 3-4 years. They've, some of them have come out and participated. In return, we've opened up our events to them.
I was going to say that one of the things is, like the food fest, which if you don't know what that is when the chefs go down to the farmers market and cook the food for everyone to get a little free sample of all the abundance of food, and they always pick a different item to eat, and it's so much fun when the students come down there because they're so eager.
They are. I have a very large group of keeners. They love to cook, they love to eat, and whenever I'm asked for volunteers for anything, it's usually a draw because there's so many hands that go up that I have to put their names into a hat and pick who gets to do it because they want to do it.
Can you imagine having a volunteer?
That doesn't happen all the time.
It was interesting because I sat beside Bruno Marty during the conference when I made the presentation for Tammy to be Member of the Year, and at the end of it he looked at me and he said, I thought it was all you. And I went, no. But, we've been able to do things in return for them. We had a chocolate workshop that we did a few years ago, and we included her class, any of her students that had volunteered with us.
And she gave us money.
Yes, and
Yeah.
we've given them funds for their programs as
Nice.
well, because it's very much we need each other very much so. And the other piece with that is that there are students that may or may not have gone into culinary that have been introduced to it at a low stress level, at a fun level, and have actually chosen to, move forward with it and enjoy it and work with it and go into it, which is a bonus piece.
So what I really love about this is you're getting young people cutting their teeth in the valley, and I really hope they stay here or on the island. It really speaks very highly of the future, and it really does solve so many problems when you have this coming through for young people from, in terms of health even. If people are passionate about their food, then it's just coming through in everything when they're so young, especially if they stay here.
Well, and their local community. To me, that's why the Culinary Club started. Is I love being connected with the community, and we are very much involved in the community within Culinary Club. It's difficult to bring your classroom out. You can, but it's time restraints and it's vehicles and it's all these complications. But with Culinary Club, it's just much easier to be involved with the
Right.
community. So.
Yeah, they've also been involved with the BC Seafood Festival as well.
Yeah,
They've been
it's one of their favorites.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
yeah.
really enjoy that piece. So
That is a
yeah.
huge one for the whole valley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For them to be a part of that is very exciting.
Yeah.
It was, and last year I had a student, Sarah, who was working in one of the booths, and the chef said, "I'm just going to let you take over cooking the oysters." So she just stood there and cooked at his station, his recipe. I don't know how many she served.
yeah.
Wow.
Hundreds of them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she was so nervous, and she kept looking back at me, and then the nerves went away. They went away completely, and she rocked it, and
Yeah.
she did
pressure.
such a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's from the
Yeah.
students now going into VIU's baking program. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it pays back so much so. So, and on top of that, we are right now right in the middle of spring break, and Tammy is still actually on Montreal time because she just got back taking 20 students
20 students, yeah.
Wow.
to Montreal and back for 5 days?
5 days.
5
Oh, my
days.
goodness.
Yeah, no, the woman needs her head examined. And were they part of your culinary club, or they were more different, or what?
Some of them were. There was just a couple from the Culinary Club, but then I opened it up to the whole school, so anybody
Right.
who was interested in coming. And I ended up, I think in June I had 6. I thought, we're going to have to cancel the trip. And then I had about 10 maybe in September, and then boom, suddenly I had 20. I'm like,
Wow.
okay. So, but they were, yeah.
This is a pattern, Tammy.
It really is. I know. People always tell me.
Yes. Yeah. So how did that go?
It went really well. It was a lot of fun. It was it was through an organization called EF, so it was all education first. So we did a lot of cultural tours, and because I wanted to make it obviously culinary, we sprinkled in a few culinary pieces. I wish there had been a bit more, but lesson learned for next time. And so it was, I thought it went really well. We did Montreal and we did Quebec City.
Wow.
If you can imagine in that time frame, they actually met up with Gaitan, one of our members,
Yeah.
because she was passing through from her holidays heading west. So,
Oh, wow.
which is really awesome because of course she speaks French. She's from the area,
Right.
and she went to school there.
Yeah, so she was my other chaperone, and she's so great with kids. She was great to have with me on the trip. It was
Yeah.
wonderful. And she seemed to have a great time as well. So
Yeah.
her hometown.
Yes.
So, as a foreigner, can I just ask, going to... I call myself a foreigner.
Yeah. Okay.
Going to Quebec, is it useful for the kids? Is there kind of a lot of French influence out that way?
Oh, yeah. So a lot of the kids I brought, because Marc Isveld is a French immersion school,
Right.
so a lot of the kids I brought were French immersion. There was only a few of us, including me, that don't speak French.
Right.
But I mean, I grew up in Canada, so I can understand about 30% of what somebody is saying.
Right.
So I could get the gist of it. But so I encouraged the kids to speak French when they could. And,
Great.
And the culture piece of it was really great. I mean, I grew up going to Montreal, my family, and I don't really speak French, I know that's, but they grew up in English-speaking communities. And so I grew up going there, and I learned way more on this trip than I ever did in any of my childhood trips. It was really great.
Yeah, just being there.
Just being there and very tightly organized. It was 8 a.m. starts, and every single minute was filled. And the common question the whole time we were there was, when do we get some free time? So any mention of free time, if we needed to clear a room, we'd say, okay, you guys can have some free time. And suddenly the room would clear, and we'd okay.
Okay. So the other piece that I wanted to bring forward with about Tammy, and this is the ability to think a little bit outside the box. And come the end of December, we had in the valley, we had 2 students who wanted to further their culinary education, but they were falling through the cracks in terms of their level 1, and they were both very different.
Can you explain briefly about the level 1?
Okay, level 1 culinary is really it's kindergarten for culinary.
Okay.
It's your basic, but you have to have it. It's like anything.
Yeah.
It's your building block.
You have to have those foundations.
You have to have it. You can challenge it, but both these students actually wanted to learn as opposed to just ticking the boxes.
Yeah.
And the next intake for the level 1 was in September.
Okay.
And they needed to have it before that. Right. So Tammy and I sat down just before Christmas, and we discussed what could be done. Now there is what's called an E-program out of Comox in Victoria. And do you want to say a couple words about that?
So we connected with it was probably 8 years ago. I think I've been doing the program. So the e-apprentice program through Comox is where the students would work here in a kitchen. I think it was 20 hours a week, and then they'd be not quite 20 with me, but we'd do 1 day a week where we would cook all day long. So we'd do the foundation pieces, like the mother sauces and their cuts and all those little bits and pieces, and then they go into their restaurant and work on those for their level 1. And they did that. We start February and we go till the end of June, and they do a final practical exam at Comox to finish their program. So we've been doing that for about 8 years, and it's just sort of been petering out a little bit. We haven't had as many students applying, and so this year we didn't have enough, but we had 2 super keeners that we really, really wanted to see go forward.
There were a lot of reasons to put it forward.
Yeah, and the school district didn't want to run it, which is too because we get funding from the government or from the ITA when we run a program like that. And with 2 kids, it just didn't financially make sense.
Tammy actually has to be paid. Her work would have to be covered for her to step away from her classroom in order to teach a full day. Yeah. So that has to be justified. Right. And that was not going to work with 2 students. So basically, I went to Chef Renaud and Chef Gaetan and we talked about it and said, okay, can we make this work? If we pick up some of the slack and, we do it as a group. And so I went to Jonathan, and this is where I sent Tammy a message and said, I'm going to have a meeting with Jonathan on Sunday. And she sent me one back and went, you do know that's Christmas, right?
Christmas Day. I said, of course Lesley is doing that. How did she get Jonathan to do that?
Christmas Day, I'm sitting at her dining room table, and she's saying, so we have this apprenticeship program that I want you to be involved in. This is my Christmas. I love it.
It's dedication.
Yeah. Well, it's actually the perfect window. Because I knew his parents live across the street, and I knew I would actually have his undivided attention. Unlike when I'm, running in here, running out. So basically, Tammy and I, we pitched it to the school board and also to Comox. All parts needed to be on board. And they went for it, and what's more, they were willing to cover Tammy's what do you call it, your replacement?
My TOC.
Your TOC. But they wouldn't do it for a full program. They would do it for, I think, about half.
Which was fine. The odd day that I'm needed, they will cover it.
So then what we did is Jonathan stepped in, and we went through what was required for them to be able to do it's considered lab work. So they actually do it in the kitchen instead of in a lab. And then we would monitor that, and if there was anything that was missed, then we would step in, and we've done one class already, and tomorrow we will be doing another one. They'll be cleaning some salmon in the kitchen classroom with Renaud.
Nice.
And
That's here, right?
that's awesome.
yeah,
We're
it's
doing that
here,
here?
yeah. And part of that also is because it's important that they are familiar with the jargon of being in school as opposed to being in a kitchen.
Right.
Because once they actually get to their practicum and their theory, they need to be comfortable with that. So it was important that they actually do both pieces.
Right.
So we have one, possibly two more labs with Tammy, and but most of it, they're doing it in the locals' kitchen. The other big piece of it is the theory. They're doing all the theory online, and it's something that is monitored, and they're fairly, well, it's a tough go. Always to do it online, it is. The good thing is that a lot of it is semi-review because they've been in Tammy's Culinary Club for a while. So a lot of it they actually already know. So
Right.
it's just a matter of going through the motions, but it's important that they need to do
It
it.
is.
It's very important that they get this basic, and it's really only because of people stepping up and being willing to take this chance of being willing to do something a little bit outside the box that we've been able to actually offer this.
So, actually, to John and Darren, do you, does locals host this kind of thing often? Because I didn't actually know about
Well, I mean, locals we've always been behind the apprenticeship program, and even myself with Atlas when I was there, that was always 100% behind the apprenticeship program. I mean, it's our future, right? And there's one day I want to retire because Renaud pulled it off, so I feel like there's an opportunity that I could follow in his footsteps and actually retire one day. But in that step, there has to be someone to replace, and the doing this. I mean, I'm super lucky at locals here because we just had two people just finish well, actually, one person finished their third year and got their red seal, and another one is just finishing up, just needs a lot of hours to get it, but when she gets that done. So I've got two people that are like fresh out of school with all the knowledge. So I've been basically, our two apprentices that we have now are sort of teaming up with them so that they can go over all the stuff, and it's an opportunity for both sides to sort of learn. Like, they've gone through the program and now they get to teach a little bit to our new students. So it's awesome. Like,
I love it.
and it's nice to see people learning things the right way in a good environment.
And I've worked with lots of kitchens, not necessarily in lots of kitchens, and I'm not throwing anyone under the bus or saying that there's different, it's just a different environment. And here I absolutely love the environment in our kitchen where there's definitely a tiered system, and it's not by a caste system. It's a level of education. We have these senior people that are well versed, always teaching younger people. Where you don't always see that in the kitchens, but there's very much of a fostering, bringing up new talent, and quite like it.
That's what's great about the Valley is that we've had, through the 8 years of doing this program, finding placements for kids. We have found amazing placements at so many different restaurants in town. And in locals has always been, kids have always worked at locals. We always had kids at the Atlas up to the last couple of years, and then we had, like, the Blackfin was involved. We've had Toscanos was involved. They were all very much involved from the beginning, which is great.
Well, right now we have two that came through the program with us right now. They're both great.
And it's neat with the program how it's designed is because it's lab work and they're supposed to do stuff. Because a lot of stuff when you come into a kitchen, the focus is just like, you're going to peel potatoes until you know how to properly peel potatoes.
Right.
And then we'll move you along to something else. Whereas this one actually, how it structures is we have to actually take time and be like, okay, so we don't normally bring in whole chickens, but we're bringing in whole chickens and you're going to clean them all down. And here's 24 chickens. Let's go at it.
That's great,
And that's how you're going to learn. And it's something that, as in most of my cooks, especially the newer ones, I'm not letting them clean down a steak because there's a bit of value there. But
Is that why we had that that side of pork the other day come in whole?
Yeah, we brought in half
for them to
pig.
take down.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And it was actually a fight because everyone wanted to do it. I'm like, guys, this is for the apprentices, and they're like, no, we want to do it.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Well,
well,
it's-
at least show. Come on.
It's not offered, for fiscal reasons in most classrooms.
Right.
They just can't do it. I mean, they can do it with a little bit, but usually they have to do a demo. The salmon that they're doing tomorrow is that I have salmon because I buy from a fisherman. And so I said, sure, I'll put it forward. You just guys clean it down, and then I'll use it for something.
Oh, nice.
Because I have 3 holes, so that's perfect.
This is how they need to be thinking. That's like at the root of sustainability. I think that's really important. And when you support a local restaurant, it's not just people that are in there preparing the food. It's almost like a little school for the young people in the town. It really does feed back directly into it. Speaking from the Atlas as well, as I'm sure you all know, Atlas is very embedded in the community. There's been a lot of turbulence everywhere in the valley for the last year with the pandemic and things like that. Atlas has a very, very small kitchen, so you're blessed here with a very wonderful big kitchen.
I walked through it this morning. It was a lot bigger than I thought it was.
Yeah, it just goes on, and I'm pretty sure Atlas will bring back that just as soon as the turbulence. But Atlas's kitchen is just absolutely tiny.
It is.
It is. Yeah.
John lived in it for 10 years, 12 years?
Yeah, he was.
One of my first students was working at the Atlas.
Yeah.
His name has escaped my brain, but I'll
Is
come
that
to
Garrett?
Yes.
I was going to say Garrett.
Love
Yeah.
Garrett.
Who owns the parrot?
The fat
Yes, the
parrot.
fat parrot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
So
yeah.
he was
Yeah.
my first. He was the first
Was he?
group of students
Yeah.
that had come through.
I remember him phoning me up one day and being like, I can't come into work today. And
Oh,
he's
no.
like, I have my final exam and I have to learn how to do this stuff. And I'm like, excuse me? He's like, yeah, I can't. I'm like, I think that's what you're supposed to be doing for me. And he's like, what? I'm like, no, you're coming in today and you're going to cook. I think you made schnitzel dinner or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so you're making schnitzel for me? And I'm like, actually, you're going to make schnitzel for everyone in the kitchen.
Nice.
And so he came in, and it was a disaster, but like an amazing learning
Sorry, Garrett.
experience because it was great. Like he learned a lot, but I just remember we had Chris, or Tiki, as everyone remembers him, was my sous chef at the moment, and he's like he's just crossing in front of him all the time, and I thought he was going to get strangled.
But his strength, at the time, I still talk about him to my trade students. He was the best dishwasher. This boy Garrett, a long time ago, he was the best dishwasher.
It makes a big difference.
It makes a huge difference
Yeah.
when you're not pulling moldy,
Yeah.
cutting boards out of the cupboard.
Yeah.
And he was excellent.
Yeah.
So, I was just going to say that there's a lot of inspirational words and do-goodery happening here. I was, what if any of our listeners are inspired and want to help, whether that's get involved or financially, or how could they get involved?
In the past, what we've started doing a little bit more is that when we're doing a dinner or something like that, because usually those are set prices, is that I will now actually say that there is a fund for, and this includes Xavier students as well, who quite
Right.
often volunteer as well,
Right.
because both these groups have funds whereby they save for whether it's doing a field trip or to bring something special in, or special equipment or special ingredients for them to work with. And Tammy does keep a fund for that sort of thing.
Oh, great.
And I'm sure she'd be more than willing to accept any funds. for
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, Tammy, thank you very much, and congratulations.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Thank you. I'm hugging you later, by the way.
Yeah, they're about a yard apart at the moment. So it's good some hugging. That's great. And Lesley, thank you very much for coming back in as well.
Oh, you're welcome.
And this is your sixth, seventh?
Sixth or seventh. I
Time
think
back
seventh,
in?
something like that. Yeah.
We're going to have to get you your permanent seat.
Yeah, really.
Oh,
Yeah.
you got it.
Keep
Okay.
on going.
Yes,
You're
thank
welcome.
you so much, and thank you for coming in. And Tammy, thank you for all your hard work and helping encourage the cooking industry,
Yeah.
and the food industry in our community.
Yeah,
because
not just future chefs, but we got future food truck owners, future
Yeah.
bakeries and sweets, and all of it's
Yeah.
coming out of this.
Yeah, the Comox Valley is very, very lucky to have amazing educators like this, because it gives back so much to students that's not necessarily on a piece of paper somewhere.
Right.
And it's really nice to be able to support them from
Yeah.
our perspective.
Kind of a good comparison as to how this is. I know that when countries invest a lot in sport, the next Olympics that comes round in like 8 years, they're just gold,
Right.
gold. And And it's the same with food, but it's less visible, but it is there, and it makes a massive difference. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks for taking on 2 of my amazing students I've been
we
working
love
with since
them.
grade 8. I couldn't, like, no, this has to happen for them. This has to happen. So that's very much appreciated that we're working on this together.
Yeah, well, the goal is now is once they get to the end of the course is that we're going to sit down and put them in the hot seat
Perfect.
and
That's
be like,
awesome.
so what did you learn? And remember, you're sitting across from me.
Yeah, exactly. Your instructor.
They think they know stress.
Yeah, really. Yes, yeah, that's pretty great.
All right.
Awesome. Well, this has been the Edible Valley podcast since 2011. My name is William. Opposite me, I have Lesley from the Chefs Association.
Yep.
Cheers, Lesley.
Thank you.
Cheers. And Tammy. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, is that a
Cheers.
mimosa, by
That
the
is
way?
a mimosa. Yes.
Amazing.
That was the condition of her coming. There had to be a mimosa waiting for it.
Yes.
I'm Chef Jonathan Frazier.
And I'm Darren Howlett.
And that wraps up another episode of the Edible Valley podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and a special thanks goes to the local businesses that help support our podcast. They make it possible for us to showcase your local food community. We'd love you to follow us on your preferred social media at Edible Valley, where you can check out our blog, find recipes and tips, behind the scenes, and of course keep a lookout for where we are going to turn up next in your Edible Valley.
Well, certainly everybody at the,
Sure.
at the conference knows. So, moving forward.
I'm gonna say so many things.
Okay.
This has been
Okay.
an Edible Valley production.
Yeah. Beep, 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 beep. Okay. Ready again?